Howdy. Thanks for joining me outside today. We're going to have the 4th of Fool's Lie celebration here. As the heat dome comes over us and is melting everybody, be very afraid of the sun and the heat, alright? Smear chemicals all over yourself. Don't forget, you need to smear chemicals on yourself at all times, or else the heat dome is going to melt you into a popsicle. You better pay attention to the Weather Channel or you might die. Oh, the 4th of Fool's Lie. Of course they cranked up all their heat weapons while all the retards are going to be outside. Oh, man. The longer you're in this realm, the more you realize how pitiful and pathetic and stupid it is here. Come on. I think of this 4th of Fool's Lie celebration and how these people are celebrating freedom, right? That they never earned, that they never even thought about. It was a gift. This freedom was given to them, right? It don't work that way. You carry freedom in your essence with you for eternity, or you don't. Like all the people around this realm, right? They never knew freedom. That's why they say they're free when they're slaves, everyone. Freedom is not something you went and fought. It's not something your great-great-granddaddy did in the past. Freedom is something that lives inside of you, that you express throughout all eternity. And you better keep expressing it, or it goes away. Don't lie to yourself about being a slave in this stupid age. Be proud. Be proud that you've uncovered this massive mind slavery system and you can at least talk about it. God. I've been watching a lot of that, predictive history, that Professor Jang. His ideas are on fire. He really gets you going, and I swear, he shows me things that I didn't know. Like the whole Pharaoh situation in ancient Egypt. And I had no idea that the Pharaoh of ancient Egypt is about the same as the President of the United States today. They're taken, they're put through MK Ultra mind control experiments to shatter their consciousness, to split their personalities. It's fascinating to uncover, like, oh, this is what they've been doing here. Like, I found out, they have secret societies, and they film people doing dirty stuff, and then they blackmail them with the dirty film. But then they also take them through ritual after ritual to basically break the person into 3 separate personalities. And to come full circle and realize that's what was going on in Egypt. They were mind controlling the pharaohs to have alternate personalities, to be this psychopathic ruler. I'll link the video below if you're curious. I woke up pretty early today, had this thought in my mind, I don't know why. This idea of capitalism is just a caste system, right? Americans love to praise capitalism. That it's not communism, right? It's not corrupt, and it's not it's capitalism. I just want to take a moment to break that down, like capitalism, right? Okay, so capital. What does that mean? Like, capital is like, oh, you have a bunch of gold bars, you have a bunch of money, right? Capital. Okay, that's capital, because you need capital to invest and to build and to start things, right? So who has all the capital? Who? The banksters, right? And the tech guys right now, all the tech bros that, introduced us into this techno-slave society. They have all the capital right now. So what is capitalism? It's the guys that have all the capital deciding how they're going to form society and putting their capital into the society they want, right? I don't know what the hell I thought it was. I don't know what the hell people preach. Like they say capitalism, what that means that you have a free market and that you go out and... Capitalism is like a monarchy. It's like the guy who owns the kingdom, who has all the gold. He finds a way to transfer the gold to his kids in the next generation and keep everybody else poor. That's what capitalism is. It's a caste system. It goes back to ancient Egypt. You had all the slaves on the bottom, you had the workers, then you had the enforcer class, right? All the dummies with the guns and the knives and whatever to beat everybody. For the priest class, right? You had the priest class and the pharaohs, right, above the police, right? Because they got to manipulate men into violence. And just this whole capitalism caste system, it goes back to ancient Egypt and the way they were living with hardcore slaves, which I've brought this one up, where they cut their balls off to serve the slave system. Just like all the military and the police of our age, they have no balls, all right? That's why it's called ball games. They gave their balls to somebody else, right? I think it makes a lot of sense why all these older men are obsessed with sports. Baseballs, soccer balls, footballs. They don't have any balls of their own. Right? So they're always like, oh, who's the best baller? Because I lost my balls. I want to have a fiery talk on the eve of the 4th of Fool's Lie. Think back to, this story you're told about the American Revolution, right? So supposedly, the king of England was taxing all the colonists, right? Well, it was like the Stamp Act was going to come into place, and they were being taxed like, 1% on coffee, or 1% on tea and coffee, or was it like 3% on tea and coffee? So if they had a revolution over like a couple percentage points of being taxed, and now you're in a system that taxes you like 30, 40, 50%, and you're here celebrating that. Like, you realize how stupid everybody is? They can't even take the original story, add up the numbers of the percentage that you were taxed, equate it to today, and be horrified. Like, I stumbled onto another story from the past. This one was up in New Hampshire during the Revolution times. It was like a couple years before the Boston Tea Party. And they had this law that all the tallest, straightest pine trees were reserved for the king. That's why they call them king pines. You have all these places called King's Pine. There's a ski resort called King's Pine. Well, that all comes from, if a tree was tall and straight enough, they would mark it. And only the king could chop it down, right? If it was on your property and you wanted to chop down that tree to use for your own purposes, you're fined. You can't, right? So, of course, some guys in New Hampshire, I think it was in Weir, New Hampshire, but it's a well-known story. They said, fuck that, I'm going to cut down all these trees and use them, right? So this town kind of said fuck it to that law about the King's Pines. And then as the story goes, some sheriffs and some, or whatever, the British, you call them peace troopers or whatever, they came into town and they're like, hey, this guy has all these fines for cutting down the king pines, so we're going to need all this money from him. So, you know, they came to town and they were like, hey, pay up for cutting down the king's pines. So, you know, the guy goes into town, he's like, oh yeah, I'll pay you, sure. And then, I don't know if it was that night or the next morning, the guy who was getting fined, you know, the local New Hampshire guy, and all of his buddies, they showed up with a bunch of switches and whips and whipped the shit out of those guys, right? Them British officers or whoever was telling them to pay the fine. They showed up and beat their asses and told them, get out of here, you're crazy. And so, you know, they had to retreat. And then as the story goes, they finally, like, settled with the British officers and paid some fine. Which kind of showed you, like, even in the beginning, like, these people were pussies. And they would eventually, like, pay somebody who didn't own them or anything. They'd still pay them to get them to leave them alone. And how this pervasive force of people prancing around with badges and weapons and saying you owe them, right? I mean, that's like the core of evil everywhere you go. You have men with uniforms, people with guns telling you that you crossed an imaginary line, you got to pay us. Unhappy 4th of Fools lied to you. You should be really unhappy about all these lies that people celebrate over and over and over again. The every year ritual, the ritual of the dead, bring out the dead, right? To fake their freedom, to put on the show of freedom while they're still in chains, right? And getting ready for the next set of digital chains. They're just celebrating their next slave reality, right? That's really all that these fucking idiots are doing on the 4th of Fools lie. Like, when you really think about freedom, and let me tell you, as somebody who, as a child, I put freedom at the tippity top. I still put freedom at the tippity top of everything, okay? I look around and I don't really see many people that put freedom at the top of their list, okay? Most people put lies and happiness and comfort, right? I want a comfortable lie. That's at the top of all their lists. Keep whispering lies into their ears and make them feel comfortable about the hell that's created around them. But what I'm getting at is when you are free, it's because you made yourself free. You created freedom. I was just watching some podcaster talk about, man, I'm way less free than I was in 2012, and he's kind of talking about, like, people in general are less free, they have less options, and I'm like, it's gone the opposite for me. Since 2012, I was like a slave, stuck under a mortgage, under a mortgage, and working, and now I'm freer than I've ever been. Nothing to do with this fucked up society and all these people promising stuff. I knew they were lying back then. So I've took it upon myself to build freedom and to be freedom, okay? It's an everyday celebration, guys. Once you really experience being free within and without, nothing else, nothing anybody else will tell you will ever satisfy that. So, I'd imagine all these people celebrating the 4th of Fools lie, they've never been free. Never even tried. They accepted the lie, and they've lived as a slave, and it shows. And every time they do these rituals, it shows more and more how fake it all is. I mean, that's the beauty of time. You know, we're in this realm, we're subjugated to time, we're going to get old and die. But hey, also, the lies are going to get older and older and older and older and older. And the more somebody lies, give it time. And it just, if you're looking correctly and not pretzel braining, and like, this whole place just blows me apart. That like, if you just simply stop listening to the story they tell you and just research it all yourself, like I have, and piece together your own story, whoa. You realize like you shouldn't be listening to them at all. You should be on this path of freedom and sovereignty. But I have to imagine, I have to wonder like, oh, why do they still listen? Why do they still go back to these people that are obviously harming them? They don't know freedom. They've never been free. They like the sound, but they don't like the taste, right? So I figure, I'm the freedom guy here. I should kind of break down, you know, what it even is. Because it seems to not be here in this realm. Even though you're surrounded by animals that are free. Trees, birds, plants, they're all free. They grow. They do their thing. But what is it with the humans? Why do the humans not grow? Why do the humans refuse freedom? Because they can. It's a very simple answer to most things here. If you're willing to accept how fucked up this reality is, right? So we're celebrating the 4th of Fool's lie, but they're a bunch of slaves that aren't free. And then you got to ask yourself, like, why do they keep doing this? What's the point? Oh, there's a big point. The point is they never have to fight for their freedom, right? They never have to be free. They can be an eternal mind slave to somebody else's story. How do you think this realm operates in the way that it does? It's so backwards. Everything is so opposite against nature. And evil thrives. I've watched it grow my whole life. And I've watched the people who were older than me, who should have known better. They just went along with it. If you have the ability to lay outside in the sunlight naked, you should do it. You really should. I was doing it last year. I've been doing it more this year. And wow, I feel that energy from the sun more than I've ever felt. And the more that you do it, the more you can stay outside and just suck up the sunlight without getting sunburned, right? So many things I could tell you, but a big lesson that I've learned, some do, some don't. Some people will get all that I'm saying. Some people will create the same things I've created and expand upon them and create more. Others won't. It's like the toilet bowl of creation here. If you haven't realized that, like the people here don't have their basic understanding of freedom and right and wrong. They don't know what's right. They don't know what's wrong. They don't even know what freedom is. Like, they don't even have the basic package of life figured out. So you'd imagine, and that Professor Zhang, he was kind of talking about this concept of, like, you do good your essence of good shines, and then you go on to greater realms where there's more peaceful people and there's more intelligence, okay? So it's just this idea that we're in like a middle earth, and you can, descend into a dumber form of consciousness depending on how you act in this middle realm, or you could ascend, right? But we're here right in this middle, which I kind of think we're at the bottom in reality, because this is a really stupid place. But you do good, your light shines, and the good is what you do to others, okay? Because you feel good about it, you know it's good. It's like that resonance. It's like shining a laser at a mirror and another laser at a mirror. Like lasers hitting, it makes a lot of energy. It makes a lot of light. So that's when you're doing good, you're resonating, you're boom, 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 you're connecting everybody's light and power. But then when you do bad and you lie and you steal, your light gets dim and darker. And of course you lose consciousness capabilities, right? Because when you start lying, and I only know this from when I was a kid, like I just don't lie. It has not been a thing. Like, you had to try it out when you were a kid, but I was never good at it. But you realize, like, when you lie, you have to remember this alternate reality that you faked. And you got to convince other people of that alternate reality all the time. And so you're constant, like, your consciousness just is jam-packed and busy with all the lies all the time. So you're not free and flowing and able to see what's actually happening, okay? And so, you're the bad guy, you lie, your light dims. It would just make sense that you're either stuck in this realm, or you might even go down deeper into a dumber state of consciousness. But I argue this is as dumb as it gets. I really think this is as dumb as it gets when you look around at what's happening here. This is probably the bottom layer, and the people with the highest freedom and the highest truth love to come down to this bottom place and have a good go at it, have a good challenge, wipe my memory. I'll find freedom again. It don't matter. And this place that we're in, it's just a place for dim spirits. It's a place for the unenlightened, right? The ones that don't shine their light. And instead of shining their light and just knowing to do the right thing, or they create stories within their minds of how they're the good guys and they blame somebody else, okay? Like, this is the blame game simulation. This is the blame game realm, right? You can always blame anybody else for all your problems. And it just goes total counter and opposite to freedom and sovereignty. Because if you have any problem, you're free to fix it. If there's any problem around you, it's on you to fix it, okay? To blame somebody else is to give away your power. I know I've said this before. So I started making this video. I did not know where it was going to end, but I want to end it on freedom, right? I made a video in the past called Free Dumb, right? How you're free to be dumb. But I'm talking about freedom, like a kingdom of freedom, right? And so I want to use my imagination and imagine where I came from. Because I get homesick a lot. That's why I'm trying to create my home here in this realm right now. But I imagine in my realm that I came from, it is ruled by freedom and peace and abundance. We have chipmunks. We have capybaras. We have lions and tigers. And everybody gets along. Nobody's eating each other. Right? Maybe we have massive gardens and we just keep growing and growing, and there's endless sunlight. And if you want, you can go down in your cave and take a nap if you need. But probably not, because in a realm of truth, it's all wide open to the highest potentials, the highest of the high. And then I see myself leaving my home of absolute freedom and coming to a realm like this to teach others freedom. I just feel like this is how the good of eternity works. Like, we sacrifice ourselves and our time for others. This wasn't some soul trap. This wasn't some karma crap. I don't owe anybody anything, and I know that. I know when I was born here, I was innocent and pure. And then over time, I was corrupted by the ways of this realm, by the ways of the authorities here, okay? But you find your way back to freedom. But I imagine this kingdom of freedom, and I can access it in my heart, and I can imagine it, and I just know that's where I came from. That's where I was. We were hanging out next to the lakes and the woods, and the capybaras and the chipmunks were running around. Everybody was happy. I was flying around, looking down on what I had created, happy. Just, oh man, this is so great. And then I figure we get a message about the story going on here and what they're trying to do. And it's like, they're going to try and brain chip them to where, like, you know, they won't even be able to have free will anymore. So you might want to come down to the lower realm. Give these people some last hurrah before they get the brain chip. I don't know. I figure I came here to have a blast and to be a blast. I came here to push the envelope of freedom in the slave realm. And I figure this higher realm, like, man, no pain, light as a feather, no blood, none of the nasty shit that goes on here, because you wouldn't need that. In a place of absolute falsehoods, that's kind of how it goes here, is you have every tool available to keep believing in the physical, material reality here. You're heavy and dense, and so all the pain becomes real, and the lightheartedness is of the past when you were a child, right? You see what goes on here is how these people start off young and vibrant, and they can move and do anything, and then time goes on and they're just all crept over like they're a crypt keeper. And how it must be some cycle that these consciousnesses go through here of denying themselves freedom and staying in a slave pit scenario. And it's real sad, and it's really fucked up, this place and what goes on here. It's so fucked up that they have a ritual every year about celebrating freedom while they're enslaved through their minds and through money systems. But it's really spiritual enslavement. The more I study it, it's people choosing slavery over freedom because it's convenient, right? I look at my life and what I've done. It's been a lot of work, but I'm also at the same time I love it. It was all the effort put out so I could get to where I'm at. I asked the crazy questions. I went and sweated my butt off building this cabin. I had to work slave jobs. I had to work a tech job to make a bunch of money to buy the property. Like I've had to do a lot of I've had to assert myself in a lot of different ways that I see other people won't. And to me, this was just, I got to do whatever I got to do to get to be free. But then I look around at most of humanity and they won't take one easy step to even free their mind. They can't even be free in here yet. How in the hell would they be free outside if this isn't free? So you really come to realize this is a realm of mind slavery and ignorance. And hey, if there was a creator of everything and he created free will, maybe that free will is too much for most. And so they choose these strange realities here to where they can blame a party, they can blame another religion, they can blame anybody else for the circumstances of their life, okay? Spiritual bypassing is another way to put it. There's always something here to get you to look without. Look out there, there's something to work on, there's something to fix, right? Instead of fixing the one single thing you could actually fix, your heart. You know, people got a bad case of slavery here. They don't understand they're sovereign. They don't need a fantasy story. And when you look around at the physical story, you really need somebody to take your money and then create giant calamities to make everybody poor all the time? You would imagine like this kind of realm should wake everybody up about slavery and how free they actually are. It's what it's done for me, seeing how fucked up it is and just making me realize like, wow, I am an alien. I'm an outsider, big time, and I'm proud of it. And if you identify with freedom, you are proud of being an outsider too. You don't take on some stupid identity here and copy somebody else's idea. Ooh, that's gross. I feel gross I have to use the same words as everybody else. I want to create my own language, but that's probably in my higher realm. There's a whole different fun language I use. But here, it's about getting the message across. It's about reminding everybody that they're free and that they're surrounded by people who hate freedom. And you're only going to uncover this by watching their actions and by being diligent with your inner workings. Well, I figured I would let you see my potato garden. It's doing real good. It's my first year. I'm really focusing in on the potatoes. But I kind of buried them like, they're probably 2 feet higher than where I buried them. And I've been buying soil and covering it as they've grown up. So I'm expecting to have a pretty big potato crop. I'll have some pictures of it by October, I'm thinking, is when I'm going to harvest. Unhappy 4th of Fool's lie to those who are fooled. Enjoy yourself out there in the 4th of Fool's lie clown show, you know. Don't be tricked. Find the real freedom within. Fuck the fake freedom without.